Greetings, this is Dr. Aeronautics, and welcome, finally, back to the Norsden Land to Neso series. This is episode 46. We're going to be doing the Surf 2 mission, with the goal of supporting 2 people in orbit. It will have the mission duration of 1 day, and we'll use the Gemini Titan II crew capsule. Norsden Land now supports 120 FPS. Look at that. Because I'm running it on my new machine. I finally figured out how to get the recording and my Minecraft working together. The only disadvantage being I had mistakenly checked to split the files every time we reach 150 megabytes, and sometimes that could be down to just over 1 second if it's a loaded area. So if you see random glitches that go forward about half a second, that's what that is. I believe I'm going to have that fixed by episode 47, because I think I've identified the issue with it. So we now have New Venice in farm mode, and I'm getting 120 FPS. Of course, you can't see that because I can only record up to 60. But it looks beautiful, and you can see things that you've never seen before, like the New Venice Harbor Bridge. Or, let's see, I believe it's Pine Lake to the north or Rush Lake to the west. So, only about 2/3 of the episode are going to be devoted to the actual surf mission. The first third is going to be devoted to getting back into Norsden Land, because it has been so darn long. And we're going to sort of relearn Eastern Norsden Land based on the new farm mode and 120 FPS. The game behaves differently at higher FPSs. It's not as simple as just increasing the frame rate. I'm talking about like figuring out where you are and such. Like the sunset, we never used to be able to see out to the horizon. Now we can, thanks to being in farm mode. It's interesting how the sunset is equidistant between Gigapolis and Westport. Well, not equidistant, equiangular. That is fantastically beautiful. I need to figure out how to get the shaders that I use. I think they're called SEUS, SEUS 11 shaders, and they make Minecraft look professional. This computer and this graphics card can handle that kind of stuff. In addition, I can also install a I'm not sure if they have 128 by 128 texture packs, but we could definitely get a 64 by 64. And we could make Norsden Land look blocky but fully realistic. So we will go ahead and spend the night, and then we'll get on the way to the Space Center. Now we have morning in Norsden Land. Oh my gosh. So I think what we'll do is we'll head to the subway and catch the train there. What's I going to say? If you're just joining me, we have started at episode 1, but given that your attention was probably caught by the amazing computer now, not the old AMD Athlon integrated graphics computer, maybe it would be better just to start at 46. You haven't missed much in the way of spaceflight, but in going from about AD 1000 to AD, where are we, 1965? Yeah. All of that got missed. Okay, so our diesel train is missing. I think we had an SD70. So, all right, we're going to be using a different way. We're going to use the airplane to get to the Space Center. Also, I should note, I forgot to leave my microphone on when I was recording, so all the audio, the original audio of me talking, got lost. So I'm actually recording this as a voiceover, if you can believe it or not. It'll get ugly. It's not like Train Simulator where everything is linear. There are parts where I'll be at a loss for what to say because I'm unsure of what comes next. And that's despite watching the episode all the way through. But if you can put up with that, we'll have a good episode, and then we'll get back to where it is. It's not too bad. Okay, so I forgot that I need an airplane, or I need a runway for an airplane. So I just pretended that what I was in was actually a helicopter. So then, you know, land right here on New Venice International Airport. And now we're on the runway, which means now we can effectively take off as an airplane. So even though this is labeled a Zeppelin, I'm treating it as an airplane because we have another type of Zeppelin, that ginormous balloon-shaped thing that we basically flew under at New Venice. Yeah, that's my Zeppelin. And yes, it actually does move. And I've used it to track the entirety, or map the entirety of Norsden Land. My fourth floor has a map room, which I'm not showing this episode, but if you look at previous episodes, I've basically mapped all of Norsden Land, all the way from, I think the northernmost part is 75 north to, 7 degrees south, from 45 degrees west to 135 west, something like that. It's a very large area. We're talking about like a quarter of the entire planet Earth. Unless your resolution is set extremely low, you can see we're about 1,150 meters, or in, as I like to say, miles from the Space Center. Because in Norsden Land to Neso, well, not Norsden Land to Neso, in Minecraft, when we were talking Norsden Land, I convert the meters to miles, and that is the scale that we use. Because I can't really create a 3,400 mile country in Norsden Land, or in Minecraft, because first of all, it would be terabytes, if not more. Second of all, there's no faster transportation without bringing the system down. The average airplane or airliner would fly at about 220 meters per second to 250 meters per second, and we can't do that. The game will essentially come down. So essentially the only way that you could facilitate air travels in Minecraft is if you created a pocket dimension where everything was smaller, like the Nether, right? And then you created a transfer function of like 20 to 1, and then you going at 11 meters per second is really you going at 220 meters per second. That would be the only way to do it. If this were my full-time job, I would love to do it, but seeing as I have another full-time job, I can't do that. If anybody wants to volunteer, please do. I would love it. Oh, I've run out of fuel. See, and then I won't have to cheat like that. When the Zeppelin runs out of fuel, it essentially just stops moving and then slowly sinks, which gives you plenty of time to refuel with coal that you have on board, which is extremely unrealistic. It would be nice. Well, actually, no, it wouldn't be nice if our airplanes ran on coal. It would be nice if they ran on coal and lasted for a day burning 1 pound of coal. That would be fantastic. All right, here's the Space Center. I see my destroyer now on the right that we're about to pass over. Wow, it looks a lot different on far mode. We have our Pad 30 tower. There's the Pad 20 tower with the Gemini Titan II rocket that we're going to use today. The vehicle assembly building for that. And I think now we're flying over, I forget what that building is that we just flew over. Saw the helicopter, and we've just landed on the runway. I always forget, there we go. I always forget what you need to tap to drop the Zeppelin / airplane. Okay, so here's our SD-70. Completely off and cold. It looks like I forgot to set the brake. Not sure why I didn't set the brake now, but whatever. All right, so here we are. That's our ride. So I'll spend the next 10 to 20 minutes touring the Space Center, and then we'll do that because I think it did take me about 20 to 30 hours of work in Minecraft to build the Space Center, and it includes more than what meets the eye. There are cable tunnels running all underneath the sand here, and it's irritating that I had to use sand because sand falls, so you can't just dig a hole and then leave it as an access tunnel. Although I think there are access ports randomly, but I forget where they are. I'd have to look at the documentation to see precisely where those access points are. So the railroad going through that you just saw was the main Southeastern Line 2. This is the NOLSA SkyTrain line. NOLSA standing for Norsden Land Space Agency. And we're on our way. So this is an electric train where basically, this is why it's called a SkyTrain, is because it runs like a monorail. This would be great to create in Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 if I had more time, because this looks just like the Roller Coaster Tycoon monorail, except it's one car instead of 6 or 2, or I think it accepts between 2 and 12 cars. Anyhow, I'm trying to figure out where I want to go. Oh yeah, I wanted to go to the Range Control Center because I want to test the logic switches to make sure that the launch warning system is still accurate, because we'll be using it for the flight. So this is the NOLSA Visitor Center right here. So I assume that this is a good station to go to. We'll head back downstairs, or not, until I figure out what's going on. Okay, now we'll head downstairs and see if we can find us a range control center. Alright, so I'm still looking for the range control center. This is the security office that I just went. There is the vehicle assembly building. And because this is being recorded post, let's go ahead and open up the map of the Space Center and play a game of hot and cold. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to check this out here, see if I can do it. So right now, I'm walking by... That looks like the... No, that can't be the range control. Okay, right now I'm in the visitor center. Right now I'm on top of the visitor center. Let me see if this... Yes, the NOLSA SkyTrain... Actually, the NOLSA SkyTrain is not mapped. I should add that. Let's see where we are now. Looks like I'm walking past the integration and test facility. Ah, okay, I found the range control center. It was on the left. Boy, I'm an idiot. Oh, I know what I'm doing. I found it, but it's night, and there are mobs like crazy here. So, this is our what is this? This is the operations and control. Oh no, operations and checkout. Okay, so this is where the astronauts sleep and shower and everything else. I had the wonderful opportunity to both sleep and shower in the namesake building that this is designed after. And the really cool thing was I designed it first, and then I got to visit it second. So, as cool as that sounds, sleeping in a building and showering where the astronauts shower, that shower looks like it hasn't been cleaned since Apollo. Okay, so that was the range control center. We just flipped the, I forget what that name of that switch is, but it's basically the go, no-go switch for the range control center, and I switched to go. So the rest of it is no-go. If we are correct, then that green light, the green launch light for pad 20 will go to red, and it's red, so we're perfect. So all of this is controlled with redstone logic signals underneath. We're using I think it's a mod called Redwire, and it's basically redstone, but it encapsulates it within a wire, so it doesn't have all those limitations that Minecraft redstone does. Alright, I just flipped the switch again, so range control center is now no-go, and we should be looking for that light to change back to, I think it's green. Alright, back on the visitor center roof. I know I'm electrifying myself on the Nulsa SkyTrain track. Alright, so we are leaving the integration and test facility station. Let's see where we're going. Okay, so this is the orbiter processing facility station, and if I'm correct, this is our mission control center. Yes, it is. So, I have also had the opportunity to see this room in real life after I designed it, and so this is designed off of the Apollo Moon Mission Control Center. In real life, the difference between what you see here and what it is in real life, it's less long and more wide. Also, I need to fix all of the placards for all the positions. How is it the afternoon already? I just woke up. So the flight director, that kind of stuff, reserved, MCF, all these guys are in the wrong positions. And I had the chance to copy down all of the correct positions. I took pictures and everything. So I know what to put at each station now. And I'll do that at the next episode. I didn't realize that they were correct until I looked. Realized that they were incorrect. And look at that. That is the pad 30. I'm trying to figure out how to get it like the cinematic turn, but I forgot how to do that. So yeah, that is the pad 30 launch servicing structure. Basically, we're going to build our moon rocket underneath that thing, and it will go all the way up to where that top stabilization hangar is. 18 stories, and 18 not 3-meter stories, 18 big stories. The entire rocket will fit under that, and just barely. But meanwhile, we're going to be using pad 20 for our mission. We're almost ready to begin. We're about 2 minutes from being ready. So let's climb our launch servicing structure. This is old-fashioned. We don't have an elevator. The pad 30 launch servicing structure, because it's 18 floors, I have made an elevator for it. And it works. It works very well. So we'll be taking that elevator up to the White Room. But, spoiler alert, that is for the moon missions, which right now I don't know if I've done the Kennedy statement. We choose to go to the moon. But we're heading that way anyway. Right? Because the last surf mission is a 7-day. It's actually it's a 10-day, and it's to test Moon. Whoops. All right, so I'm looking out at Tracker Island. Down there is what's H2 Hangar 2, and next to that is the entry, descent, and landing control center. So that's when we're landing on. Okay, there's too many spoilers in that one. Let's just say that in real life we're not there yet. We're not at the point where we need that control center yet, where we are today in 2017. Okay, so yeah, that's the space center. You can see the trains or the train line, Nulsa. To the side is the first stage vehicle assembly build. Yeah, that's the first stage vehicle assembly building. That's where we're going to build the S1C stage for Saturn V. And don't worry, I took lots of pictures. All right, let's get going. All right, so here's our Gemini Titan II as it appears in orbiter. Now, due to this being an old mod, the virtual cockpit is not available now because the capsule defines itself, despite the fact that it looks like it is here. The capsule does not define itself until staging, so we don't have the opportunity to see windows. So what we'll do is we'll do an external view during launch, and you'll get to see all externals until the capsule defines itself. So let me bring up the mission plan here. We're going to deactivate numlock now by pressing the numlock button. This is for safety. And then at T-minus 12 seconds, we're going to press P to initiate the launch sequence. So this is pad 20. That is quite a track for our, that's our launch suppression water system. We're using a pole instead of a water tower. And that's basically, a lot of people think that that's to prevent the pad from melting itself, but it's actually to prevent the pad from shaking itself apart and essentially exploding. Alright, initiating launch sequence.
Auto evacuate.
Auto evacuate, lights on.
Set all recorders to fast, T-minus 15 seconds and counting.
It's actually less than that. We're actually at T-minus 3.
T-minus 10, 9,
No,
8,
that's right.
7,
What am I looking at?
6, we have ignition. Main stage. 4, 3,
Okay.
2, 1, 0, and we have liftoff.
Alright, so we've got launch commentary. I forgot I deleted some of the middle videos, but let's just sit back and watch the launch. Staging will be at T plus 155.
Roger 7, all systems are go. Altitude 10,000 feet. 1 mile downrange.
We're having
Altitude 20,000 feet.
we're having a nominal ascent so
5 miles
far.
downrange.
Doggone it. Frickin'
Altitude
display
30,000
issues.
feet. Entering max Q.
Stupid grid isn't displaying.
60 seconds into the flight, 40,000 feet.
I hate that. It looks really
15
good
miles downrange.
in a few areas, but in other areas it's not displaying.
All systems are tracking as go. Altitude 60,000. Passing max Q.
It's a high max Q.
Altitude 80,000 feet.
Max Q usually happens around
50 miles
40,000.
downrange. Altitude 100,000 feet.
And now the jerk switches to miles instead of kilometers.
Altitude 35 miles.
Can you please give kilometers when you get above
25 miles downrange.
100,000 feet?
All systems go at this time. miles.
We're
62 miles downrange, 2 minutes into the flight.
We're above 80 kilometers. This is where NASA gives its astronauts wings. So we're astronauts now.
Coming up on Vico.
Yeah, I was just going to say
We
that.
have Vico.
No, we don't. It'll count down. Don't worry. Commence countdown from
75
Vico.
miles altitude.
10, 9er,
84
8,
miles downrange.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
We have Vico. Staging. Ignition. Ignition of the second stage, and the first stage just despawns. Because this is an old mod, it defines itself improperly. I think at this time we can get the virtual cockpit, because the I thought it defined itself at this point. So we're out of range now of Tracker Island, which is at the Norsden Land Space Center. So I can't get any altitude callouts now until we go over Bermuda. So that's why they've gone silent. This is 1965. So the craft does not have the capability of devising its own orbit. So we don't know where we are right now, other than we're accelerating. We do have that directional ball gyro, though, which helps. Alright, looks like we've just got into range of the Bermuda tracking station. Because I see we now have a stream to the capsule of our current, oh, yeah, don't open that. Of our current latitude, longitude. There's a latitude, longitude plot. And ground speed and altitude. The unlikely event that I get something insane like 500,000 subscribers, I will redo all of Norsden Lands 1 through 45 just so that it's as good as this episode. But there would have to be an insane amount of subscribers for that to happen. Alright, we are now through 5.7 kilometers per second. We're pulling about 4.5 Gs, so this is starting to get uncomfortable. 6 kilometers per second. We're less than a minute from Seco. That'll be at T plus 3, 68 seconds. Oh my god, we're at 6.5 Gs. Ow, ow. Okay. Seco. Standing by for capsule separation.
Capsule separation.
And we have separation. And now the capsule has defined itself. We get the virtual cockpit. Alright, so we need to press J twice. What we're going to do is we're going to define the astronaut side, which will add to the realism. We do have the capability of doing a spacewalk, but we're not going to unless we identify a critical malfunction that needs fixing. All right, so the there we go. So J1's for the equipment package. Second J releases the astronaut. Then we're going to press A to select, shift number pad 4, and then shift number pad 0, and then that should seat him. And then we have to repeat that. Press J again to get the second astronaut, and then it's good. He's in. All right, so we've got him. Got both astronauts. T plus 588 seconds. We're going to activate prograde autopilot. We're going to align ourselves to the orbit vector. Slightly more advanced than Mercury, where you had that auto roll pitch yaw program. This one's an autopilot. You just press the button and it does it. Alright, we've just received our first orbital determination from the Mission Control Center. Looks like we are go for multiple orbits. And at least a day, yeah. Yep, we are go for at least a day in orbit, which is the duration. So all we got to do is just stick around here and not die. When we activate prograde autopilot, we should see the thrusters outside the window. This is one thing that's nice despite how old this mod is. As you can see the RCS jets firing. So that annoying beeping that won't stop is just letting us know that we're close to our second stage. I'm going to leave that on because we want to know if the stage is getting closer to us. We're not outside the craft and we do not have views to outside in real life, so we have to leave that running to make sure that the second stage is not getting closer to us. Eventually, it will get so far away that the system will stop tracking it. But until that happens, we need to track it. can't remember precisely what I'm doing here. I'm interacting with the in-game menus, which don't display because of the way that I'm recording. This is also fixed. I can guarantee it's fixed. If you look at my video on Cassini's final, what did they call it? Grand finale, plunging into Saturn. You can see I do have the in-game menus displayed. So I did figure out how to fix that. Okay, prograde autopilot is active. Isn't that beautiful? Seeing those RCS jets. And we're at T plus 600 seconds. Mission events can begin. So we're now basically done until we get to re-entry burn minus 300 seconds, which is about a day from now. I don't have any other objectives than that, so we'll probably just do a scenery tour of the Earth. Unfortunately, this virtual cockpit is not interactive, it's just a display. The Project Apollo one has a virtual cockpit, and it is so detailed that there is a panel that explains how to use the other panels. It's that complicated. That's our current RCS volume. If that hits 0, we're screwed, because then we can't reorient ourselves. So if that gets down to 10%, it's mission abort. We're going to fire the retros and re-enter. But right now, all systems are go. And by visual inspection, indicating no leaks in the capsule. I think I know what I'm doing. Alright, so Gemini capsule tour. So these switches are going to be the fuses on board. Similar, they're in a very similar location to the Mercury fuses. Hey, we finally stopped tracking that second stage. Looks like I'm also time warping. So yeah, if you have a switch or a fan or a parachute that you need to open that won't open, check the fuses, make sure that they're on. Obviously in this mod they're dysfunctional, so it doesn't matter. In Apollo, it will be critical. There will be steps. There will be steps to check the fuse before you do something to make sure that what you want to do will absolutely work. So it looks like that might be a speed, pressure gauge. We have a clock, altimeter. See what else is here. I believe this altimeter goes up to 100,000 feet, which is an improvement from the Mercury one, which only went up to 50,000 feet, but it doesn't work. Capsule pressure indicator. That is our gyro. Those are our rates, roll, pitch, and yaw. Oh, nice. I think we just had orbital sunset. Like, it scared me. It all of a sudden got dark in the cockpit. Capsule. So, yeah. Orbital sunset. So now we're in orbital night. So all the heaters are going to be kicking on now because it now feels like minus 250 degrees Celsius. We're still low enough that the atmosphere, the thermosphere does insulate us a little bit from real deep space. We won't encounter that kind of stuff until we get out to Apollo regimes. So yeah, I'm time warping again. We're going to be up here for at least a day. Oh, look, it's Venus. It's pretty cool. Wait, no, that can't be Venus. It had to have been Jupiter or Saturn because we're... Oh, no, it could be. It looks like we just had orbital... Yes, we just had orbital dawn. Yeah, that was Venus. I have a reduced resolution when I'm voicing over, so I can't read everything. So, now unrealistically, Orbiter has a time compression limitation of multiple of 10 or 100 for autopilot. So if I go to 100 times the normal rate, then the autopilot will essentially not be able to integrate properly and it will lose control. So I have to disable it when I'm time warping. In real life, this would be causing the... Ooh, it's Orion. In real life, this would be causing the capsule to get enormously hot, like above boiling and below 0 Fahrenheit. So, yeah, it would be pretty bad. But because of Orbiter's limitations, we have to do this. Now, luckily, in most of our missions where we're actually going to be using time acceleration, especially in the future, we'll be far enough out from Earth to not be perturbed by the atmosphere, and then it will appear that we're using our autopilot, even though we aren't. Alright, more tours. I think those are the actual operation switches for the various fans and fuel cells. I think we have fuel cells. Yeah, we have to. If we're up here for 10 days, it's got to be fuel cells. No battery can do that at that age. We have cabin pressure, cabin temperature, cabin CO2 levels, I believe, here, and then levels in our oxygen tank, how much oxygen we have left to feed in. Below that are probably various environmental controls, like how to adjust your temperature, adjusting the oxygen percentage. Orbital sunset. I also just did the orange thing. I had one teacher in 7th grade that would pronounce the word orange, and it was hilarious. But sometimes I still forget that I do it. Not exactly sure what that is. Alright, these look like the rate controls. So like the RCS, when we want to activate auto RCS, like the autopilot configurations, then we'll mess around with these. That's probably the master switches to turn on and off the program. Now these here are probably the fuel levels, the fuel tank levels of our various tanks on board. The joystick is obviously to maneuver the craft. Those are likely the radios down there. We have a second set of bus fuses on the right side of the capsule. Let's see what else we can find. There are various copies of the instruments we had on the other side. That's probably a nav pad to enter radio information in. If not, it's a... Oh, no, it's probably the guidance computers program. So you select the nouns and verbs that you want using that pad, I think. And it goes through. I took a picture of a Gemini capsule way back. Let me see if I can find that right now. Meanwhile, I believe that's the status display where you are in the nebula. Where you are in the mission. And those various things are to, I think they're to actuate docking and undocking. But I'm not 100% sure. Guess what? You guys are in luck. I found my pictures of the actual Gemini capsule. So it's a dial pad with a 0 at the bottom. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. Looks like I'm onto the overhead now. So let me bring up the actual overhead panel that I have now. And read a few things. So on the top row, we're going to have lighting controls, O2 rate controls. Second row is going to be RCS squib, ohms control, orbital attitude maneuvering system, I believe. Acme, which is a Acme control. I think that's their maneuvering system. Autopilot. You have the pitch and yaw roll jets. So you have a choice to choose between pitch and yaw roll. Third row, primary, secondary maneuver drivers. You have a choice between the two. Maneuvering thrusters for forward and aft, left, right, and up and down. And then below that you have the primary and secondary attitude drivers. Attitude thrusters, pitch, up and down, yaw, right and left, pitch up and down, and another, oh no, I see, pitch down, yaw right, pitch up, yaw left, and then below that are more of the ones that I can't read. Two choices for pitch and roll, primary and secondary. Then you have pitch, yaw left, yaw right, pitch, yaw left, and yaw right, 2 and 3 again. I'm not exactly sure what these mean. I'm not an expert, but at least I got to get inside an actual Gemini capsule and take a whole bunch of pictures that I actually used to create the Minecraft version of this capsule. What are we looking at now? Is that in the back? Shoot, I don't have a picture of the back. So it looks like we're finished our capsule tour now. That's pretty much all there is to see. It's not like Apollo where you have multiple spacecraft. That's going to be fun. When we go back and forth between the lunar module and the command module all in one go, like, so you don't have to go to a loading screen or anything, or exit and restart the simulation. It's going to be so much fun. More time warp to pass the time because we don't have a day to sit here. At some point I'll just head outside because it'll just get so boring in here, and I'll put it up to 100 and we'll see some beautiful things. As I recall, the simulation actually crashed 3 times because of the Earth. So I'm generally okay unless I get to the Earth, because I have some very high texture things installed and we're using C++, and you all know how reliable C++ is. So I mean, it's like Minecraft, right? Not Minecraft. Train Simulator. Train Simulator has all those random crashes in it that really irritate me. but they don't stop me from doing what I want to do. It's a beautiful stretch of ocean. One of the things that I really like about living on the Earth is, compared with most of the other bodies in the solar system, it looks really cool. Like, there's only a few that look as amazing as the Earth does. So, the Sun, you can't look at that because it's too bright. And then you have Mercury, which just looks like the Moon, except it's orange. And then you have Venus, and you can't see anything, it's just a yellow ball. And then you have Earth, which is Earth, the Moon, which is boring, and then you have the two asteroid moons of Mars, and then Mars itself. Mars kind of looks cool, but it lacks the differentiation between the oceans and the land. And then you got Jupiter. Jupiter could give the Earth a run for its money because of the tapestry-like cloud patterns in its upper atmosphere. Saturn is kind of bland, except for the hexagon. But it's yellow, and yellow's a boring color. The Sun is also yellow, so I really don't care. And then you have Uranus, which is just a featureless green-white disk, boring. Neptune can give the Earth a run for its money because it's sapphire blue, beautiful, a very intense color. The only thing it's missing is the contrast between land and ocean. Looks like I skipped the Moon. So Io's kind of interesting. Europa's kind of interesting. Ganymede and Callisto are boring. This is all in my opinion. And then we got Mimas, which looks like the Death Star, and then Tethys, which is bland. Dione Rhea, bland. Celadus, that's pretty cool. That has geysers and jets. Iapetus used to be exciting, but now we know that it's different colors because of Saturn's rings. There's like a trail. I think the moon Hyperion basically shares with it. Titan's cool, but you can't see anything under Titan because its atmosphere is thick. All the Uranian moons are bland, and then you have Triton, which is kind of cool because it has the cantaloupe terrain, and it also is suspected of having liquid nitrogen jets. Pluto is surprisingly exciting. I have to say Pluto is probably as exciting as Europa, to look at least. It's really cool to see all those ices there, and I think they said it does snow on Pluto. How fantastic that is. Alright, so I think very soon we're gonna go up to 100 times. We should see a orbital sunrise soon. We'll quiet down a little bit more so that you guys can enjoy it. Ooh, okay, that's stars. So one thing that I think I figured out, if you've been watching my train simulator videos, they've been having a very annoying in the background of the microphone. And I couldn't figure out what that was, and I inspected the line, and there was actually a hookup, a port that I didn't know existed between the two wires, and the jack was coming loose. So I shoved the jack back in, and then I recorded and listened, and that seems to have fixed the issue with the fuzziness. So hopefully the audio quality on this video is really good. Oh, is that the moon? No, that's just what Antares. So this is realistic, at least on my screen, because I have a liquid crystal display. You can't see the capsule. All you can see is the stars getting eclipsed by it. So the stars just blink out and then blink back on. I actually cannot see the capsule silhouetted against the background. I don't like it. That's why I like liquid crystal displays, is because it's realistic. And let me tell you, when you drive, or when it gets dark in Minecraft and you use those shaders, it gets scary dark, like to the point where you have to rely on your ears and the coordinates, which is like a form of touch, to see where you are. You could not see a gaping hole underneath you if you walked over it, unless you were holding shift. Another thing too is space. It's very, very, very beautiful to see space on a liquid crystal display, and it's also scary to drive a subway train, because when you drive through a dark tunnel, it's really dark. So yeah, get a liquid crystal display because it looks more realistic. Wow, there's so few stars now. I can't. If I didn't know that the capsule was dead center in the screen, I would not know where it is. I can't see it. Whoa, what's that? Oh, okay. City lights and orbit dawn. Let's see how long it takes me to figure out where we are. I have pretty good geographical knowledge, so given enough time, I can usually figure it out. Actually, scratch that. I can always figure it out. It's just a matter of time. Okay, unrealistic sonic boom randomly. Oh, you know what that might have been? Actually, no, the ISS doesn't exist yet. There's the sun. If you thought looking at it on the Earth was bad, if you look at it in space, you will be absolutely at a loss for vision. So don't do it. All right, coming back to the Earth, let's figure out where we are. Another thing that I would really like is like a Viking sailing simulator, just because I have so much fun devising where the heck you are. Whoa. What the heck was that? And obviously, before the times of marine chronometers, there was no way to figure out what longitude was. So the only way you could figure out latitude was by either measuring it with a sextant, and before sextants existed, you would have to eyeball it with Polaris, with basically an angle, and a right angle. And the other option that you had was what is it called? Oh yeah, the sun, the angle that the sun creates based on the time of year. Right, if you know the declination of the sun, you keep track of that in tables, then you can figure out what your latitude is at noon, sunrise, and sunset, based on wherever the sun sets. All right, finally, land. If I didn't know any better, I would say this was North Africa. All right, I got it. That's Cuba. We must have just flown over Mexico. There's the Windward and Leeward Islands of the Caribbean. Or Caribbean, depending on how you pronounce it. And the day's getting on because now the sun is setting in the North Atlantic. When we took off, it was setting, I believe, in Eastern Africa. So we've been up for quite some time now. But we got to spend at least a full day up here before we re-enter. And just as the spacecraft in total darkness was realistic, so is the Earth. I can't see it aside from the fact that it's eclipsing out stars. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a real-time sunset, and you're going to see the capsule turn from yellow, orange, and red. Okay, so this is real-time. And it happens very quickly because the sun sets through the atmosphere very quickly as we go around the Earth. So this is real-time, the sun turning yellow, orange, red, and vanishing into night. That's it, that fast. Now the sun is setting. Wow. So the key takeaway is, if you were spacewalking, don't wait for the sun to start shining orange for you to go into the capsule if you want to be inside by orbit night. Because by that time, it will be too late. Looks like I just jumped ahead to orbit dawn. Alright, I'm thoroughly confused now because oh, I think I know what happened. I think I just jumped to the end of the mission. Yeah, because I was going to say the sun was setting around the eastern seaboard when before we went here. So, gosh, I can't read that simulation time. That's what I'm looking at. But given its 5 digits, we're probably pretty close. So, I'll know when I target the Star Dune Rise Space Center for re-entry. Boom. I'm targeting Star Dune Rise. Okay, so this is the end of the mission now. I skipped over. Trust me when I say you didn't miss anything. Literally the only thing I did was I went 100 time acceleration and just waited until now, and then I started the video again. I didn't do any activities, so don't worry, you didn't miss anything. Think of it just as an instantaneous time warp. Okay, so it looks like we're 6.4 megameters away from the Star Dune Rise Space Center in southeastern Norsden Land. So what I'm going to do is, yep, we're going to do the retro burn now. So press J to jettison the equipment package at T-minus 300 seconds to retro burn. I looked at our mission planner package, and it says to perform the retro burn at 5,000 kilometers away from the Star Dune Rise Space Center, and that will nab us about a few hundred kilometers off the eastern coast, which is what we want. Okay, re-entry minus 250 seconds. is the kill rotation. So I've just issued a kill rote to stop our rotation. So in real life, this would be where we're disabling the prograde autopilot, and we're now going to prepare for the firing of our retrojets. I'm going to issue one more kill rote command at 10 seconds before the retro fire.
Houston, we show capture and hard dock. Congratulations.
Okay, so the way we jettison the equipment package is by pressing J to load in the... It's very strange the way this mod works, but basically we've loaded the re-entry package, right? So we're going to go ahead and execute the retrograde autopilot very soon, and that will put us in the orientation that we need for re-entry. I think the way I'm doing this is by physically navigating through the menus for the remote control vessel, which will allow me to click a button to put us into retro. In real life, we would just be reaching forward and issuing the correct noun on the keypad, which would cause the computer to put us into retrograde autopilot, at retrograde control. Okay, so retrograde autopilot is active. You can see our RCS jets now firing, and we're going to turn around so that we're opposite our velocity vector. Okay, so we're gonna go to vessel control, and we're gonna select Gem Retro. This is another way the mod works. The retro rockets in this mod are its own spacecraft. So rather than having a second tank, we have a second spacecraft. That 98 is obviously our RCS. So what we're gonna do is we're going to select to control the retro rockets. And then at RS-0, we're going to fire retro. So that's at 140 seconds out, approximately. Oh, well, we're actually below 5,000 kilometers now. So we probably need to fire thrusters now. Is it 5,000 or 4,000? It's probably 4,000. So you should see the main prop change when we select the Gem Retro pack. The main prop should go to 100 for 100% fuel, and then we'll burn the engines to re-enter. I've closed our orbit plot because it's not realistic to be able to see your orbit updating in real time in the 1960s.
Undocking confirmed.
I would have only done that if I had done the retro burn. Well, in real life, the springs would be fast enough so that this wouldn't happen. Looks like we're going to redock with it.
Houston, we show capture and hard dock. Congratulations.
Okay, I know what happened. We did the burn. So basically, what happened was I selected the remote control, right? So it doesn't update the display that you see that my mouse is on right now. And rather, all control is done in the GUI, which you can't see. So I basically did a remote control, and you couldn't see the remote controller. So, oh well. The Apollo will be fully realistic. You won't have to worry about this kind of BS. Alright, so now what I'm doing is I'm jettisoning the retro rockets to expose our heat shield. We want our heat shield exposed. So now, to avoid the redocking, in real life it would be sprung away from the craft in such a way that it would never come back. But because of orbiter limitations, I'm going to do a translation maneuver, and that will prevent the retro pack from redocking with us, and it will slip away into space before being destroyed in fiery re-entry that hopefully we will survive. Oh, there's a nice cutaway for you. So that's what it looks like inside one. Huh, not. All right, so we have selected Gem 3, jettisoned, had confirmation of that. So we are currently drifting, and when we reach 120 kilometers, we're going to enact our retro attitude hold, and we're now going to get an update orbit from Mission Control Center. Mission Control Center says that our periapsis will be negative 300 kilometers. That is good enough for a re-entry. Oh, check out the window. You can see the retro package. That's pretty cool. So thanks to that machine, which we can now see out the window, it's very rare to see your own parts of your own spacecraft out the window, and it's usually a bad thing. Thanks to that, we'll be able to go home. So now I'm going to time warp until we get to 120 kilometers. And I'd make sure I've disabled the autopilot. So we're now flying over Sonora, Mexico again. And now we're over South Texas. Which in Norsden Land, this would be Sunji. I think I put up an official map of Norsden Land in one of my episodes. So that's an Easter egg. Go find it. Watch all your Norsden Land episodes. Take notes. There will be a test. You want to see the Sunji. Where is Sunji? List in the comments below. All 2 people who are watching this. Okay, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, holding retro. And you'll see the thrusters firing as we approach re-entry. So let me tell you what to watch for re-entry. On the lower left is a MFD, which at the top left of that black box, it says surface : Earth. And then there is an artificial horizon. So our ground speed in meters per second on the left, altitude in kilometers, and vertical speed in kilometers and meters per second, respectively. Underneath that is the VACC in meters per second squared. That's the vertical acceleration. Next to that is the angle of attack to the oncoming airstream, basically related to how much lift we're giving. To the left of that, on the top of the bar, is the ATM data, and that will give our outside air temperature, which is correct for the Earth, our current Mach number, which is accelerating, DNS, which is density in kilogram. I think it's it's kilograms per meter cubed. STP for static pressure, DNP for dynamic pressure. And in the very bottom left, one of the most important things to watch there is ACC meters per second squared. That is the vehicle deceleration. Right now it's positive, which means we're still accelerating. This is because we're in free fall, right? So gravity is pulling us closer towards the Earth. We are being accelerated faster, and as we accelerate faster, that is obviously going to show up on our acceleration meter. Now, look, it's going down very quickly now. We're at 90 kilometers, so when that goes negative, we are officially slowing down. But that doesn't mean the air pressure is already affecting us. It just hasn't overcome the force of gravity yet. So very soon we'll be reaching what's called terminal velocity right now. And now we're slowing down because the air is getting thicker. So now we're at 0.05 G. So right now, this is beginning. So what I'm going to do, when the G values get kind of high, I'm going to disable the retro attitude, because it will cause a G value of 100 meters per second squared, which is 10 Gs, and that's almost deadly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deactivate it and manually pitch rather manually yaw the craft to change its angle of attack so that we get lifting re-entry and shallow our curve some, so that we don't re-enter very much. Very soon you will hear the atmosphere outside the craft. We are now at about 1/3 of a G. Altitude 70 kilometers, 1/2 G going up. Looks like the dynamic pressure is about 2.5 kilopascal. That we'll need to watch on that for our heat loads. 8 meters per second. 1 G going up, 85 kilometers in altitude. We should also be able to see a plasma cloud surrounding the craft very shortly. We're really going to heat up now. 2 G's going up. Altitude 60 kilometers coming down. Alright, we're in radio blackout. We're surrounded by a plasma cloud. Mission control can no longer hear us, so we're completely alone now. 3 G's going up. 4 G's going up. Altitude 52 kilometers. 5 G's going up. Ow, 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 ow. 6 G's going up. Seven G's going up. Okay, disabling retro. I'm now manually yawing the craft to change its angle of attack. 8 G's. 8 1/2 G's going up. We're nearing blackout here. Alright, 8 1/2 G's. Eight G's coming down. Altitude 33 kilometers. 7 G's coming down. Retro hold active. 6 G's coming down. Altitude 95,000 feet. 5 G's coming down. 4 G's coming down. Current speed 2,000 miles per hour. 3 G's coming down. Current altitude 83,000 feet. 2 G's coming down. Current speed 800 miles per hour. Current altitude 66,000 feet. 1 G coming down. Re-entry is done. Speed approximately 450 miles per hour. Jettisoning nose cone, preparing for drogue chute deployment. Altitude 48,000 feet. Actually, 38,000 feet. Altitude 33,000 feet. At 8 kilometers, we're going to shift number pad 1 to deploy the drogue chute. And that's where we're going to be from. Okay, shift number pad 1 drogue chute deployed. Altitude 22,000 feet. At 2.22 kilometers, we're going to shift number pad 1 again to deploy the main chute. Altitude 13,000 feet. Altitude 9,000 feet. And 2.5, 2.4, 2.3, 2.22. Shift number pad 1. Main chutes. Speed is not decreasing. Shift number pad 1. Why are we not slowing down? The current number is shift number pad 1. We're at 40 meters. Shift number pad 1. Shift number pad 1. Shift number pad 1. 100. God. Whoo. Okay. Anybody else know the implications of what just happened? Let me inform you. Operators, remain at your consoles. Security, lock the doors. It would appear that we had a main chute deployment failure. What I'm doing now is I'm opening the... I'm going to open the menu for the flight data logger, and we're going to look back in time and see what the acceleration was. So, coming back in now. As I recall, we saw 27 Gs, right? We saw, I think it was a total of 260 meters per second squared for the refresh rate of the monitor, which would have been about, we saw it for one frame of the monitor, and the monitor refresh rate is every fifth of a second, so that's 200 milliseconds. So we saw the gravitational acceleration of the surface of the sun, 27 Gs, for 200 milliseconds. If I open the NASA standards for manned space flight response, and I go to gravitation or acceleration forces, and now look at the survivability chart, we are above the upper limit of survivability for 200 milliseconds at 27 Gs. So we're going to have a gruesome sight inside the capsule. Basically, if this were real life, we would have slammed into the ocean at approximately 196 miles per hour. Water would be as hard as concrete at that point, so no bother accounting for the fact that we're landing in water. We saw 27 Gs for 200 milliseconds, which is above the upper limit of survivability, which means that the mission, although accomplishing our goals, we would have lost 2 astronauts in this mission. In Apollo 13, you would call it a successful failure. You failed your primary task, but you were able to get the astronauts home. In this, I call it a failure of success. We succeeded in our mission, but we failed to get the astronauts home safely. As stated in the mission statement, it simply says, support 2 people in orbit for at least 1 day. And we did that. We're now at, I can't read the simulation time. It looks like 91,000 seconds. That is over 1 day. So we have supported 2 men in space, or women, whatever you want, for 1 day. And, well, unfortunately, we would have died. Yeah. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up the surf mission documentation, and I'm going to record the information. This is going to be a very big lessons learned. So we go to Mercury Beach, Gemini Surf. I'm in the wrong document here. Let's see. It's in the beach guide. Yes. Alright, so what I need to do is highlight the, go into missions, surf missions, and Surf GT was a success. However, Surf 2, I think what we want to do for this, and I'm going to have to jog my memory of the abilities of Excel. Basically what I want to do is I want to tiger stripe it and say, yes, we did it right, but you know, we also lost somebody. So I want to tiger stripe it blue and red. So let's go to format cells. This is how I maintain this is essentially how I maintain my information on how each mission is done. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get the recovery officer, and we're gonna build another craft because this one is, well, we're gonna retire this one. We're gonna build a new one out of the respect for the astronauts. I need to play Kerbal more. The problem with Kerbal is it's not realistic enough for me, so we'll need to get a realism overhead mod, and unfortunately it doesn't have interactive virtual cockpits, so it's not exactly the best thing, but it's very similar to Kerbal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a recovery officer. He's going to come out to he is going to come out to okay, I know what I'm going to do for the color. He's going to come out there with a flag, because I don't have a flag created in Orbiter because I don't have time to make the Norsden Land flag. We're going to do the closest flag that we have to the Norsden Land flag, which would be the American flag, since Norsden Land is essentially where the United States is. Alright, so I'm going to interstripe this as blue and red, and that will be a clear indication to me that this mission was a absolute... oh, I know what I'll do. I'll make the text red. Red like blood. I'll know much blood was sacrificed that day. Alright, so what I'm doing now is I'm going through the I'm going through the vessel, so that's the flagpole, the vessel creation module. So I just created a flagpole and then posted it to the location of the capsule. Next I'm going to create a universal MMU unit because it has to be unpacked. That's going to be the recovery dude. And when we create him, he'll be in space, and then we're going to put him next to the capsule. Okay, there he is. So it takes me a little bit of time for me to define him. Oh, let's not go back into the capsule. Not very nice in there right now. How beautiful. It's going to be awesome when we... what do we want this guy to be? Yeah, dock. Not much use now. It's going to be amazing when we do our first spacewalk. I think that's the next mission. Surf 3, perform the first EVA. Yep. So what I want to do is I want to do a root cause analysis, and to do that, what I want to do is I want to put the new Gemini capsule inside the B1 that we have, which is our makeshift cargo plane. Switch the bomb, put in the bomb bay. We're going to fly the B1 up to about 50,000 feet. We're going to drop the capsule, and then we're going to attempt to command... We're going to attempt to command a parachute release and see if the parachute releases. And see if we can identify what the cause may have been. We're going to basically mimic the exact same system we did, which is the drogue deploy at 8 kilometers and the main deploy at 2.22 kilometers, which is, I don't know what that is in feet. Not like it matters anyway. And then see what we get. And then if it's bad, then we might have to redesign the capsule. If it's good, then we'll maybe do one more test just to verify, because losing a parachute is something that you can't recover from. There are some things like, okay, maybe your retro doesn't fire, that's fine. We got, 6 more hours of oxygen, it'll be okay. Not parachute. If you don't deploy your parachute, you're dead in 10 seconds. So here's our recovery officer on the Earth. Get out.
Too far from airlock.
Get out of that capsule. Disgusting. So, let's figure out. He needs to activate the packing, unpacking UGCA cargo. That's what I want. Letter U. Okay, so I need to go up to the flag stand and press the letter U, and that will deploy the flag for the astronauts.
Unpacking cargo.
Perfect. Flagpole is up. Everybody salute. And my destroyer is the recovery vessel, so the destroyer would fire its deck gun. Which would sound something along the lines of... And yeah, that's it. A failure, a failed success. Anybody else totally psyched right now that nobody actually died? Isn't it great when nobody actually dies? It's just a simulation. I'm not going to redo it. I'm going to leave this as a failure because failures are a part of life. But I'm just totally psyched right now that nobody actually died. This has been Norsden Land to Neso episode 46. Thank you guys for joining me, and I will see you guys next time for the first spacewalk. Bye-bye.